I don't think there's any studies to support this, but this has been, I don't know, strength training anecdote or wisdom for decades, which is training in this way tends to produce this very granite hard, solid feeling body. Now, bodybuilders in the 60s and 70s, they would go through powerlifting cycles because they would say the same thing. Like Arnold would say, it gives me a granite look to my body. So it does tend to build this really solid, tight, strong, dense looking body from a visual standpoint. I remember, Adam, when you were bodybuilding and you switched over to the style of training just for a short period of time, you even commented that it made your body feel that way or look that way. So it's really interesting.
I would argue to the death of me that there's a huge difference in it. And I don't know if it's more about the heavy lifting or it's more about training for the pump is more about fluid that you're teaching your body to be able to hold in cells. And so that gives you this temporary inflation or look to the muscle versus lifting really heavy weight gives you kind of this permanent look. That's how I would describe it to somebody on like what I notice a difference. Like when I trained like a bodybuilder for so many years, I used to always have this feeling of, man, when I drank all the fluid and got in there and I lifted, I looked twice my size. But then 20 minutes later, that would all kind of air out, and then I feel like you could barely tell I really lifted that much. That's how I felt, right? And it wasn't until I started powerlifting that I get this look where I built muscle, and maybe I didn't look as filled out as the pump look gave me, but it looked like I built legitimate muscle that didn't need to be aired up to look bigger. Right. Does that make sense? Yeah. Like that was the way. And so I don't know if that's more.
That's the theory. The theory is that the actual contractual tissue, the muscle fibers, grow more with this kind of training versus the other style, which also grows muscle fiber, but also adds to all of the non-muscle fiber structures in muscle, glycogen, fluid, capillaries, which also makes up the size. I mean, 70% of your muscle is not muscle fiber. It's all that other stuff. So that's the theory. We don't have any evidence, like scientific evidence to support it, but we've got decades of strength athletes talking about, this particular thing.
I think too, that besides the back, that's definitely an obvious one to see, different style of training. You could see somebody who's probably doing more powerlifting or compound lifts, what that does to their back, but really their core is very much something that stands out. And just seeing somebody that's, a little more focused on the heavy end, you can see what that does to their obliques. You can see what that does to everything, in their back and their erectors. Like it's one of those things that if you don't do it, you just don't see a pronounced visual representation of that as much.